A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SAFTI Military Institute on the 24th of March. My name is JK, and I'll be taking you through the parade proceedings as we witness the change of command parade for the Chief of Defense Force between Lieutenant General Melvyn Ong and Rear Admiral Aaron Beng. Participating in this year's parade are 5 Guard of Honor contingents representing the SAF Military Police Command, Army, Navy, Air Force, and the newly formed Digital and Intelligence Service. They will be accompanied by 12 marching contingents from the various services, 4 state colors, 36 regimental colors, and of course, the SAF Central Band.
Penanda, tanda. Penanda, ke kiri, ho, sing. Penanda, ke tempat masing-masing. Dari kanan, cepat jauh. Line. Tenang deh. Ring. Penanda. Jump.
The parade sergeant major for this evening's parade is Master Warrant Officer Kelson Tan, Formation Sergeant Major, Army Intelligence.
Baris. Sedih. Ya. Julan. Senja. Tah. Baris. Dari kanan. Cepat jalan. Baris, Russo, Senja, tak. Baris, ke kanan lo, us. Kawalan kehormatan, masuk baris. Ha! Baris, hormat panci-panci. Hormat, senja. Ha!
Kawalan kehormatan, dari kiri, cepat jalan.
Please rise as the colors march past your immediate front. All military personnel are reminded to salute the colors.
Kawalan kehormatan, ke kanan, lurus. Kawalan kehormatan, hormat panci-panci, hormat senjata.
Baris, Russo, senja. Ha!
The parade second in command is Colonel Tan Sheng Yang, Commander, Cyber Defense Group. The colors Regimental Sergeant Major is Second Warrant Officer Shasi Kumar, Regimental Sergeant Major, 41st Battalion, Singapore Armored Regiment. And the Singapore Armed Forces Central Band is led by the Director of Music, Military Expert 4, Ignatius Wang. The parade commander will now take over the parade from the parade second in command.
Baris! Steady! Yeah! Race!
Ladies and gentlemen, the parade commander for this evening is Colonel Liu Kok Kyong, Commander, SAF Military Police Command. The Singapore Armed Forces Central Band will now perform for us the SAF Dream. Ladies and gentlemen, the arrival of Chief of Defense Force Lieutenant General Melvyn Ong. He's accompanied by Chief Guards Officer Brigadier General Lo Wilson and SAF Sergeant Major Chief Warrant Officer Chua Hock Guan. Please rise.
Rise! Steady! Yo!
Please be seated. The Singapore Armed Forces Central Band will now perform Gabriel's Oboe by Ennio Morricone, arranged by military expert 2 Dax Wilson Liang. This is a special musical tribute to our Chief of Defense Force, Lieutenant General Melvyn Ong. Ladies and gentlemen, the arrival of the Minister for Defense, Dr. Ng Eng Hen. He's accompanied by Chief of Defense Force, Lieutenant General Melvyn Ong. Please rise.
Rise! Steady! Yeah! Rise! Hormat Menteri! Hormat! Senjata! Rise! Lusuk! Senjata!
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Ready, sir. The parade is formed up and ready for inspection. Sir.
Chief of Defense Force, Lieutenant General Melvyn Ong will now inspect the parade. Lieutenant General Melvyn Ong will now deliver his speech. Sir, please.
You know, when an icon of the Singapore Armed Forces like General Winston Chu acknowledges you, you can't help but think that you've done something right. So thanks a lot, sir, for being here and for meaning so much to the Armed Forces. Can we have a round of applause for our founding CDF, please? Defense Minister, Permanent Secretaries, former CDFs who are here, service chiefs, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, very good evening. Aaron and I appreciate your presence this evening. Let me first thank our organizers, led by the Guards and the Sergeant Major Group, for putting together this simple yet symbolic parade, and the weather held up for us. You know, to our soldiers on parade, thank you for representing the SAF and for honoring this occasion. I spoke to all of you yesterday. I know you were up for it. We weren't sure of the weather's for you. But you reflect the pride. You reflect the confidence in the SAF, and I want to especially acknowledge the digital and intelligence service. They're over there, and they're behind, and they're on parade for the first time in their new uniforms. So let's honor the soldiers. You know, 5 years ago, I took my oath of command as the Chief of Defense at this same parade square, 5 years ago. The last 5 years have been challenging, but they've also been defining for the SAF. We face our safety challenges head-on and set out to build a stronger safety culture in the SAF. We overcame the disruptions of COVID-19 and answered the call to support the nation's fight against the pandemic. And in spite of the pandemic, we continue to transform. We continue to build an SAF that is fit for purpose, to be mission-ready amidst new mission demands, especially in the digital battle space. We strengthened our NS systems. Many NS men are here today, many seniors are here today, but we strengthened our NS systems to enable and support our people, both regulars and NS, to contribute their best to the mission. So, as I hand over command of the SAF today, I hope that I have lived up to my oath, to do my utmost in leading the SAF. And I want to thank all of you here for the honor and the privilege of leading you. And looking back on the last 5 years as CDF and the last 30 years as an officer, I feel a sense of pride, confidence, and gratitude. Let me just share 3 reflections. First, on pride. I'm proud. I'm proud of how we have overcome adversity and emerged stronger. You know, there were 2 defining challenges in the last 5 years. I was speaking to the minister earlier. He recounted the last 5 years. We both looked at ourselves and we thought, it's been challenging. But there were 2 defining challenges in the last 5 years. First, training safety and its impact on the confidence of the SAF and national service. And second, the COVID-19 pandemic that threatened to disrupt not only the SAF, but the nation. And in all this, we had clarity of our mission. We pulled together as a team. We accepted our responsibilities. And we went hammer and tongs at it. The SAF institutionalized a stronger safety culture and lived up to our core values, care for our soldiers. And in COVID-19, we overcame significant disruptions and anxiety amongst soldiers and families to maintain operational readiness and force generation. And in our nation's time of need, the SAF answered the call. We answered the call of duty, we never shirked, and we gave strength to our nation. Our men and women, including NS men and the SAF Volunteer Corps, served on the front lines and in our task forces in COVID operations, keeping Singapore strong and safe. I spoke to SMTO. SMTO described the SAF as the Singapore-Swiss Army knife. able to deal with all manner of contingencies. We deployed 7 task forces, amounting to more than 7,000 personnel from the SCF, from MINDEF, and from the defense tech community. You know, in his interim report on the pandemic, former PermSec Defense Peter Ho lauded the SCF for its ability to deal systematically with both the scale as well as the complexity of the various operations it was assigned to deal with, especially during the migrant worker dorm crisis. And through the challenges and the adversities of the last 5 years, we affirmed the strength and the character of the SAF, mission-focused, highly committed, indefatigable fighting spirit, always placing the mission and the team above all else. Head Civil Service Leo Yip, when I spoke to him, shared with me that the trust between the SAF and government agencies today is particularly high on account of how we've supported and how we have worked with the government in the pandemic. You know, we have to nurture this trust. We have to nurture it, and we must ensure that the channels with government agencies remain open, that they remain resilient, because we will need each other. We will need each other for the hybrid challenges and even, God forbid, future pandemics that we will face in the future together. So as I stand here, I'm quite proud. But second, I have confidence in the SCF. We are operationally ready today, and we always have an eye on the future. In 2018, we staged one of our largest SCF security operations. We had 2,000 personnel involved during the Trump-Kim summit. That was in the middle of 2018. And during the pandemic, we established the Counterterrorism Information Facility, which brings together partner nations to share terrorist threat information. And of course, in keeping our eye on the future, last year, we launched our new service, our 4th service, the Digital and Intelligence Service, to defend us and to develop capabilities in the digital battle space and to lead our developments and campaigns in information, cyber, electronic warfare. You know, as I stand here and reflect, there is more work to be done. Our work is never finished. And while we must be ready for today, we must never forget that we must look past the challenges and the demands of the present and always anticipate the broad challenges we face in the future. The threats we will confront, the opinions we need to present to leadership, and we must never be complacent. The character of warfare is changing. The maturity of various technologies, especially in the digital, will change the face of warfare. You see what's happening in Europe? It is changing the way people conceive of how battles should be fought. Cyber, electronic warfare, information, unmanned platforms of all manner of shapes and sizes, air, land, sea, artificial intelligence. And while we cannot determine the exact environment we will have in 2040, we can establish some broad guidelines. There will be some surprises, but we can get the basics right. We can get the basics right about how we develop our people, how to become more integrated, more purple, and how to constructively challenge existing ways of doing things. Through our 2040 blueprint and organizational changes, including the DIS, we show that the SCF is different. It knows what it needs to do, and it has the will to do it. My confidence also rests on the quality and commitment of our people, the regulars, the active, and the NS. Just 2 weeks ago, I met up with our senior NS men. They affirmed their commitment to national service. They were not just paying lip service. They acknowledged that especially amidst a fractious geopolitical environment, characterized by a war in Europe and big power competition in Asia-Pacific, they reminded me that while some nations are beginning to reintroduce national service at this time, after deeming it spurious to requirements after a prolonged period of peace, Singapore has maintained this national commitment for 56 years. And commitment to defense, commitment to NS, These surveys continue to affirm the need for national service to defend Singapore. If you could, let's have a round of applause for NS men in the audience, please. And this morning, I also had a dialogue with 50 young officers. I had what is called a 50 under 30. I met 50 officers under the age of 30. They asked many questions, but I saw their sense of purpose. I witnessed their spunk. They asked me anything, and their willingness to challenge the status quo, and their spirit of constructive discontent. I am confident that the future of the SAF is in good hands. I'm also confident that the SAF is in good hands with Aaron at the helm. For those of you who don't know, I was his platoon instructor 23 years ago in OCS. He was so inspired that he signed on. But not that inspired that he went on to join the Navy. I know Aaron very well. I've known him a very long time. And I know that Aaron will bring strategic thinking, drive, and good policy acumen while working well across MINDEF, SAF, and the defense tech community. He is the first Navy chief to lead the SAF, and I know you will give him your full support. Give a round of applause for the leadership of the next generation. And third, I'm filled with a deep sense of gratitude. Let me first thank MINDEF leadership. To Defense Minister Ong, he's the only defense minister I worked with since I was head joint plans in 2011. I don't know whether you remember that, Minister. When you first came in as defense minister, I also just came in as a head joint plans. I want to thank you for your support and your guidance all these years, and for always challenging the SAF to not be complacent. That's always been his mantra, to not be complacent and to embrace the mission mindset in all we do. I also want to express some gratitude to PermSec's Chang Chi-Fu, who's not here, Chan Yin-Kit, and more recently PS Henki. Thank you for your partnership. I don't know what MINDEF did to deserve you, but your support has strengthened the SAF. Thank you very much. To my staff and command teams, just over the last 5 years and also over the last 30, too numerous to name. I've drawn from your energy, and I've tried to leave it all on the dance floor. I'll say that we never lost our heads, even when those around us seemed to lose theirs. We achieved what we wanted to do. I never walked alone. Those of you who know will know, yeah. And to our regulars, the officers, the war specs, the military experts, the DXOs, many of them do the grunt work. They work away from the limelight. A lot of MINDEF staff work away from the limelight. A lot of policy changes. They work overnight to make sure that the SAF is well served and our people are looked after. It does not go unnoticed. The SAF does not stand up unless our war specs and military experts and MINDEF staff give us the ability to do so, especially those in the combat service support and engineering and logistics. Thank you for making a difference. To our NS men and NSFs, we are a citizen armed forces. Embrace the purpose and the work of defending our nation. It is never done. You have inspired me. Thank you for your service. It has been the honor of my life to serve with all of you. But before I step off, perhaps let me just add one more word of thanks to my wife, Nicole. She's here. You've tolerated my work all these years. You've been my best friend. And you did it all with grace, grit, and humor. My children, you wore the burden of your father, prioritizing work ahead of you for most of your lives, and still turned out well. And I'm proud to be your father. And to my parents, I hope that I've given you something to be proud about. So finally, I leave you with 3 convictions, just 3. 1, the mission always comes first. but make sure you develop and bring everybody along with you. 2, the team always comes before self. And 3, remember that you are yang pertama dan utama, the first and the foremost. Not that we have been flawless from the start and have not made mistakes. We have. But that we have shown the capacity and the elan to change and build a better SCF from generation to generation. From General Winston Chu, who's here today, and the late Captain Retired Shamsuddin, who passed on just a few weeks ago, to the 50 under 30 that I met this morning, to the young cyber NSF who just joined the SCF in the DIS because he knows that the battle in digital battle space will be intense and wants to use his diploma in cyber to defend our networks. This 58-year journey of the SCF has been defined by forward motion and the unyielding commitment of past and present to defend Singapore. Remember, therefore, that you are yang pertama dan utama. Live your core values, embrace the burden of responsibility, and continue to be that SCF that Singapore and Singaporeans can always depend on, in good times and in bad. Thank you. God bless. Yang pertama dan utama. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The parade will now honor Lieutenant General Melvyn Ong for his successful command of the Singapore Armed Forces with 3 cheers.
First, steady, go! First, kali, senja, tak! First, akan beri 3 sorakan kepada Lieutenant General Melvyn Ong. Himit! 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 First, kali, senja, tak! First, Tangang Day! Ready!
May we now invite Chief of Defence Force Lieutenant General Melvyn Ong and Rear Admiral Aaron Beng up on stage for the symbolic handing and taking over of the command symbol. Sirs, please. We would now like to invite Minister for Defence Dr. Eng Hen to present the command plaque to Lieutenant General Melvyn Ong for his successful command as Chief of Defence Force. May we now invite Rear Admiral Aaron Beng to receive the letter of appointment as Chief of Defence Force. Sir, please. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral Aaron Beng will now take his oath. Please rise.
First, steady, go! Kapitan Bendera, masuk, march!
In the presence of Minister for Defence, Dr. Eng Hen, men and women of the Singapore Armed Forces, I, Rear Admiral Aaron Beng Yao Cheng, do hereby solemnly and sincerely pledge that I will always be loyal to the Republic of Singapore and the Singapore Armed Forces. I will always discharge the duties of my command efficiently and objectively, without fear or favor. I will always have the interest and welfare of my men and women at heart. I will do my utmost to maintain a high standard of performance, discipline, and administration in the Singapore Armed Forces. I will do my utmost to uphold the integrity and honor of the Singapore Armed Forces.
Please be seated. The parade will now pay compliments to our Chief of Defence Force, Rear Admiral Aaron Beng, with a welcome salute.
First, Hormat Panglima. Hormat Senjata. First, Luso Senjata. First, Sangangde. Read.
Chief of Defence Force, Rear Admiral Aaron Beng, will now deliver his speech. Sir, please.
Minister, Permanent Secretary, former CDFs and service chiefs, senior officers from MINDEF and the SCF, friends and families, men and women of the SCF. Let me also put on record my thanks for everyone who had worked hard over the last few weeks to put this event and parade together. Special mention to guards, which oversaw the organization of the event, and all the men and women from our 4 services on parade. The chief organizer, B.G. Wilson Low, I know there was a period of time this afternoon when you thought the Navy is bringing the water, but the weather cleared up. Some excitement is always good. Thank you also to the family, friends, colleagues, and partners who have made time to join us today. I cannot agree more with a lot of what General Melvyn has just said about what the SCF is and what he has done, but in his very typical fashion, he gave the limelight to many of us, and I would like to take a few moments in this speech to turn the limelight back on him. General Melvyn took over as CDF on 23rd of March 2018 and has led the SCF with distinction for the last 5 years. As he has said, this period has been marked by significant challenges for the SCF, and most recent in everyone's memory is the COVID-19 pandemic. During this national crisis, the SCF stepped to the fore, supported many aspects of the national COVID-19 fight. The context, scale, and scope of the pandemic differed from our set-piece scenarios. And here is where General Melvyn and many of his core team played a role. We had to plan, innovate, and develop new solutions. At the center and leading from the front was General Melvyn. At some of the most critical points in the pandemic, I know that he personally delved into the plans and details to make the plans better or strengthen the execution. In addition to what the SCF did on the national front, General Melvyn also led the SCF to perform and execute our core missions well, ensure operational readiness, and continue force generation. This was not an easy undertaking when confronted by the pandemic. Here, his many years of experience in the SCF allowed him to provide good guidance and counsel to all the services as we balanced and rebalanced between the range of different demands. With the benefit of hindsight, I would say the SCF did well in COVID-19. And that in itself would be an exceptional leadership scorecard for any individual. But true to form, General Melvyn knew that it wasn't enough to just ensure the SCF did well today. He was always thinking about how to ensure that the SCF was future-ready and advancing to meet the challenges of tomorrow. And the SCF has moved and made significant advances during his tenure. We examined the future operating environment, identified new changes, and laid the foundations for what we call SCF 2040. Perhaps the most significant and visible is what is on parade today, the SCF's fourth service, the Digital and Intelligence Service. This is an investment which we believe is necessary to ready the SCF for the future threats and challenges that are increasingly emanating from the digital domain. But beyond the DIS, General Melvyn also championed enhanced integration across the services and within each service. We see strengthened collaboration across all our services with new concepts being developed and put to the test in real-world exercises such as Wallaby, Pacific Griffin, and Forging Sabre. There has also been the induction of many new capabilities during his time. Some examples include the Hunter Armored Fighting Vehicle, H-225M medium-lift helicopters, Invincible-class submarines, and the backbone to synchronize all these, our C4 infrastructure, including cloud. But having had the opportunity to work closely with General Melvyn, especially in my former role as Chief of Navy, has showed me that his deepest imprints on the SAF was not through what he achieved, but through the type of leader he was. General Melvyn was a leader that truly cares about every soldier, sailor, airman, and digital warrior. He shows this through his personal interest in going around the SAF to understand the business of our units, to talk to people. And when he makes his rounds, he has an uncanny ability to reach down and connect to the last man. And I think you saw the wellspring of that genuineness when he walked past just now and people clapped and cheered for him. At the same time, General Melvyn understands the strategic intent and what needs to get done by the SAF. I would sum it up by saying that he was a leader who is able to think upwards and connect downwards, and in deciding what to do, always guided by genuine care for his people. And that is what I think made him an exceptional CDF. Will you join me in giving him another round of applause? In closing, I just want to say finally that good leaders and good leadership is a cornerstone of the SCF's strength. Today, we thank one such exceptional leader in CDF General Melvyn Ong. But at the same time, I know that we also have many exceptional leaders across the different echelons in the SCF, across our four services, in the Officer Corps, in the EWAS Corps, in the Military Domain Expert Scheme, in our DXO Corps, among our regulars, among our NSFs, and among our NSmen. You are all leading at your different levels. And now the baton passes to all of us, collectively to lead the SCF in the coming weeks, months, and years. And in doing so, to ensure that the SCF continues to achieve our mission of constantly enhancing Singapore's peace and security, both today and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
First, steady! Yeah!
Good evening, sir. I have a permission to march off the parade. Sir.
Kawalan Komandan Diam! Yang lain, Julang Senja! Tak! Baris,
Chief of Defense Force Rear Admiral Aaron Beng would like to invite Lieutenant General Melvyn Ong to review the march past.
Kawalan Kombatan dari kiri cepat jalan.
Featured in this evening's parade are the Guard of Honor contingents, 12 supporting contingents, state colors, regimental colors, and the SAF Central Band. Please rise as the colors march past your immediate front. All military personnel are reminded to salute the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, leading the parade in the march past is the parade commander, Colonel Liu Kok-kyung, Commander, SAF Military Police Command. Following behind the four state colors is the parade Regimental Sergeant Major, Master Warrant Officer Kelson Tan, Formation Sergeant Major, Army Intelligence. The regimental colors are accompanied by the Color Sergeant Major, 2nd Warrant Officer Shasi Kumar, Regimental Sergeant Major, 41st Battalion Singapore Armored Regiment. The leading Guard of Honor contingent is formed by personnel from the Singapore Armed Forces Military Police Command, led by Lieutenant Colonel Sean Paul Magnus, Commanding Officer, Military Police Enforcement Unit. The contingent's second in command is Major Chan Pei Ling, Head Current Operations, SAF Military Police Command. Representing the Army, the 2nd Guard of Honor contingent is led by Lieutenant Colonel Law Ang Wei, Commanding Officer, 3rd Battalion Singapore Guards. The contingent's second in command is Major Tiang Pek Hor, Planning Officer, Joint Operations Department. Guard of Honor contingent is formed by personnel from the Navy, led by Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Chu, Commanding Officer 180 Squadron. The contingent's second in command is Major Jonathan Ma, Head Manpower Operations, Naval Diving Unit. The 4th Guard of Honor contingent, formed by the Air Force, is led by Military Expert 6, Corps Mark 1, Commanding Officer 508 Squadron. The contingent's second in command is Major Kong Ting Wai, Head Human Resource Management Center, Air Defense Operations Command. The final Guard of Honor contingent is formed by the Digital and Intelligence Service, led by Military Expert 6, To Bao En, Commanding Officer in Imagery Support Group. The contingent's second in command is Major Yo Yong Jin S3 1st Signal Battalion. Marching at the rear of the 5th Guard of Honor contingent is the parade's second in command, Colonel Tan Shenyang, Commander, Cyber Defense Group. The first marching contingent is from the 3rd Singapore Division, led by Major Ian Vanderput, Commanding Officer, 5th Battalion Singapore Infantry Regiment. Marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, 2nd Warrant Officer Leon Sung, Regimental Sergeant Major, 5th Battalion Singapore Infantry Regiment. The second marching contingent is from the Navy, led by Military Expert 5 Danny Chia, Senior Engineer Depot 2, Ship Superintending Engineering Center. Marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, Military Expert 3 Ko Siu Liang, Coxswain, RSS Justice. Approaching us is the 3rd marching contingent from the Air Force, led by Lieutenant Colonel Koo Kok Kyung Kenny, Commander, Air Intelligence School. Marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, Military Expert 3 Derek Lee, Command Chief, UAV Training School. Contingent is from the Digital and Intelligence Service, led by Military Expert 5 Wu Lianzeng, Commanding Officer, 33 Electronic Protection Unit. Marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, Military Expert 3 Jackie Chai, Unit Chief Expert, 20th C4 Unit. Marching contingent is 6th Singapore Division, Headquarters Sense and Strike, led by Major NS Adam Asik bin Sharir, Commanding Officer, 797 Battalion Singapore Infantry Regiment. Marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, 2nd Warrant Officer Lee Cheng Yong, Regimental Sergeant Major, 24th Battalion Singapore Artillery. The next marching contingent is from the 9th Singapore Division Infantry, led by Lieutenant Colonel Goh Kun Leong Joshua, Commanding Officer, 1st Battalion Singapore Infantry Regiment. Marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, 2nd Warrant Officer Lee Chuan Huat, Regimental Sergeant Major, 1st Battalion Singapore Infantry Regiment. The 7th marching contingent is from the 2nd People's Defense Force, led by Lieutenant Colonel He Wei Xiang Ivan, Commanding Officer, 15th C4I Battalion. Marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, 2nd Warrant Officer Tan Wei Ming, Regimental Sergeant Major, 15th C4I Battalion. The next marching contingent is from Armor, led by Lieutenant Colonel Chua Sien Hee, Commanding Officer, 42nd Battalion Singapore Armored Regiment. Marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, 2nd Warrant Officer Surendran Sanjeev, Regimental Sergeant Major, 42nd Battalion Singapore Armored Regiment. Coming up next is our 9th contingent from Combat Service Support Command, led by Major Kevin Mi Shi Chang, Commanding Officer, Transport Hub East. Marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, 1st Warrant Officer Hong Wei Chuan, Regimental Sergeant Major, 3rd SAF Transport Battalion. The 10th marching contingent is from the Singapore Combat Engineers, led by Major Huang Su-min, Commanding Officer, 38th Battalion Singapore Combat Engineers. Marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, 2nd Warrant Officer, Li Jia-yen, Regimental Sergeant Major, 38th Battalion Singapore Combat Engineers. Our 11th marching contingent is from Signals, led by Major Tan Lin Feng Wilson, Commanding Officer, 10th C4I Battalion. And marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, 2nd Warrant Officer, Nyo Se Hong, Regimental Sergeant Major, 10th C4I Battalion. And our final marching contingent is from the SAF Medical Corps, led by Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Tung Wei Liang Benjamin, Commanding Officer, Medical Response Force. And marching behind is the contingent Sergeant Major, Military Expert 3, Oh Kok Seong, Master Trainer, Army Medical Training Center. Leading the SAF Central Band for the March Past is Drum Major, Military Expert 2, Chua King Hui. And on his right is the Director of Music, Military Expert 4, Ignatius Wang.
you.